computer. There we go. Oh, so
I'm Matt.
You are Matt, and I'm Bryan.
And you're Bryan.
We're artists.
Yeah.
We're
gonna have a talk.
Time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So artificial intelligence. We can probably kind of get involved in all different sorts of discussion, but I mean that's like the core thing to what we're going to talk about going forward, I guess, is like what's going on? What is this?
Yeah, and how it relates to artists and creativity and geez, the human race, really.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's even from the last time we talked, it has taken a big jump.
It's amazing
in all ways, in the visual stuff, in like every aspect of it. It's just, yeah, I don't know where it's going or what it's going to end up being and how it's going to change us.
It's good to talk about because that's what develops consciousness about any given subject, is when enough people get together and say, this is important to us. We think that other people should think about this too. And our way is the best way to think about it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I just wanted to give that kind of basis, like why you're hanging out. But it's okay to talk about it. And that's one of the things.
I think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's I mean,
I think it has to be. Yeah,
it's essential, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's why I'm so glad that you were like, hey, can we record this? Because one of the things I can see me being is I'm a little bit older than you. I can definitely come from the perspective of I'm pre pager, much less pre-smartphone, right? I'm the phone is attached to the wall in the house. That's where phones are supposed to be. So, and which is pre-answering machine, I'm black and white TV guy when I was very young. So
we're not that, how many years apart are we?
I'm 62.
Okay, I'm 55, so we're not.
No kidding. You're so vibrant and young looking.
Hardly.
You do. I thought you were going to say I'm like 41 or something.
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Nope. So I have vague memories of black and white TV. Yep.
Okay, but I was bringing kind of like a curmudgeon-y, like, this is the route to hell.
Yeah. And I've always, ever since computer graphics started, I've always been fascinated with the digital stuff. And my, I was the first illustrator, full-time illustrator at Microsoft, and I've been using all this stuff since the very beginning. On the other hand, like a lot of artists who are super digital artists, the older I've gotten, the more I also start going back to the more traditional stuff, which is I've noticed is a pattern with a lot of the people that were super into the digital stuff. It just yep. So
and I'm one of the people who, I only recently, in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years, have I used a digital tool to create art for publication, which is still, analog publication in paper books, right? So even the stuff that I'm using that is, for me, advanced, like an iPad and an iPen, it's being used to create a book, which is way old. So, what I simply want to be in the place with this too is that I think that AI could open up all sorts of opportunities for different ways of considering problems that we can't figure out in our in the situation that we find ourselves in right now.
Yeah.
So when people say, like medical or
Huge.
wildfires or,
Climate. Yeah.
right? I get it. I get it.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna. That's why I'm gonna back up, and I'll be quiet in a second. I'm not going to. I don't want to be in that place where I'm like, it's bad. It's not bad. It isn't. It's just another tool. And I do have issues with it when it's starting to be talked about giving it a pronoun,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I would
Um,
say that that there are major concerns with it overall in general, though. The more you kind of dive into it, the potential for it to get out of our control is huge.
but see, okay, so this is where I want to come into this picture because so I can't do anything about that except talk about and I don't even want to get into. I mean, I'll hear it and
Yeah.
I'm always going to have something to say about something because that's who I am.
Yeah.
But for me, what is my interest of, and I've been thinking about this, what's my interest about this? What I see AI doing, and particularly in regard to when I teach students at the collegiate level,
Yeah.
I already see a problem with an interruption between this and the muse, the door inside where I have to go, and which is a lot of work, by the way, to really develop that mechanism inside me to make stuff.
Yes.
I already see that being impeded without AI in regard to the wonderful things that have been introduced, like um, being able to erase a line every time you draw a line
Mm-hmm.
and it's not there. And I start like that alone to me is bringing a kind of neuroses about my drawing has to be perfect and an inability to see that sometimes the line that I thought was crappy, I'll look at the drawing 3 hours later, and actually that crappy line is one of the most interesting lines in the piece.
Yeah. It does definitely has an effect on happy accidents, and it has an effect on, yeah, yeah. The more perfect you keep trying to make it, I mean, what is perfection, right? So,
So, but
yeah,
that's like AI is actually, to me, it's offering to replace from my perspective. And I know other people who use it could say, well, that's not true, Matt. I feel like what it's starting to say is like, look, it's it's really hard work to sit down and work through all of the thought processes that impede my being creative. It's been talked about for millennia. Writer's block, why do artists drink and take drugs?
mm-hmm.
Like all of the artists who do that in order to get to that threshold and through the door. And I keep pointing here because I mean it. It's a space inside that creators have always had to go through. And now what I feel with AI is saying you don't have to go there.
I I think for me, on an even broader sense, I feel like creativity is an inherent part of being human. Um, and when you don't have to do that anymore, how does that change, you know, the human race and individual people? You know, especially, and it's more evident, I guess, in those of us that have a passion and a compulsion and a drive to be creative and make stuff. But yeah, that that is something that's where I'm worried about it. Um, what is that going to do to people when you don't? Yeah, you
No,
don't have to push through things. You don't have to,
right.
develop things. You don't have to. I mean, part of making art, part of writing, part of any creative endeavor is the process that you use to make it is a major part of it, and the development of it. When you got something else doing that for you, I don't know. That just doesn't sit right with me.
But there are, and I know, like we talked about this last time, and you told me about people who have a way of talking about this, which I've thought about that too. And it feels like denial to me.
Hmm.
I'll get to the point because we came to that place last time and it still feels that way.
Yeah.
While I can say, well, I can see that AI is going to help us and could. And I'm look forward to that. I can also see that the people who are working on it, especially like you said, that there are some of them who are saying, this is going to lead to a utopia. Anytime I hear the word utopia and people who think they're actually leading us to a utopia, run the other way.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it, though, is that there were people who talk about the process of AI. When I said, okay, it's taking people's work and using that in a mathematical equation, an algorithm of zeros and ones to make new work based upon millions of other ways of rendering, photographic, three-dimensional, two-dimensional painting. And the answer was, well, but isn't that what happens when we learn? Okay, and that's right there. I got to go, wait a second.
Yep.
This is an application that somebody made and told that thing it's okay to steal, which is what it is to actually lift. I tell my students, don't trace artwork and say it's yours.
Yeah.
It seems to me that
I'm gonna say
it's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna say I agree with you, but I also know the response that other people and the argument that other people will make. And part of that would be, well, the AI isn't really tracing, it's just learning. It's not copying, it's they're gonna say it's more like human beings are learning and being influenced by. So,
but it's not a human being.
But no, it isn't. It's not a human.
It's an application where
not a
they
human being. Now it's a step in it is different than just a normal computer program, though, because it's got the word intelligence in it. It is, they don't even understand a lot of what it's doing, the people who are making it. So, but you are correct. It is not human. Sometimes I picture it as alien, but yeah. But so, it gets really fuzzy because it's so.
And that's where it's like it's important.
Yeah.
I want to have these discussions about words, right? And that's okay, because we get to derive meaning from the word, which is also supposed to have meaning in it.
Right.
But actually, words for me are things to hang my feeling on.
Yeah.
So when I hear, okay, it's got the word intelligence in it, and I hear what you're saying from those people, and we could get caught up if those people are here. I could go back and forth. It's not. Is it sentient? Is it?
It is. The people who are trying to figure that out would tell you that it's on the edge,
right?
Or they aren't sure yet.
And so this becomes a definition of terms.
Yeah.
Right. That decide whether or not. So
I guess, yeah. And as far as like the stealing part of it, yeah, like if somebody sees my work and they're inspired by it and they want to, be influenced by it, and then it eventually, along with other influences, it turns into their own thing, I'm okay with that. I think that's awesome. In fact, I like, yeah, the idea of somebody being inspired. But like you said, this is not a human being, and while it's not copying or it's not like compositing different people's work together or anything, it's learning from it and then generating its new. It's also not a person, and it's able to, it's not using it for the purpose of becoming a better artist in and of itself. It's using it so that it can make anything. It can make anything. Yeah. There is no limit to the style or the application or anything with it. Whatever as much as it can take in, it's going to take, and then it's going to Now it is going to generate new things based on merging different styles together and different, everything. But
And it's going
yeah,
to
it's
happen
not a human
so,
being, so it's not the intent. Yeah, is I don't know.
it's going to happen so exponentially too going forward that
It's already
it's the,
happening exponentially, I
yeah,
believe.
so it's the humanness. Okay, I get to choose then. And the question then I have to ask myself is this me simply pushing back against change? Because I've done that plenty of times, right? And the iPen that I use now, it's fun. And I know that, there are issues I have with it. Like I feel like I'm just using a piece of plastic and dragging it across a piece of glass. And that's not what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be pushing oil paint around on a big canvas, right? Or using some gouache on a piece of really gorgeous Arches 400-pound hot press or cold press. You know what I'm saying? Like those things, I say those
Yeah.
words because like that means something to me.
Well,
Okay.
there's a physicalness to it. There's also and more experiential. But I mean, that's part of why I, in my 50s, switched and started painting giant murals with real paint
And
and
I've seen
getting paint
those.
all over me and being out
And
in
that's a
public.
choice.
And yeah,
See? But
right.
you're not like doing that because like I hate freaking technology. I'm not gonna see, like, if I get caught
Right.
up in that, that's a mistake. And I've done
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a beauty to, okay, we can do both of these. The question is for me then, I don't want to shame these people. Like, I don't want to say, look what you're doing. This is theft. All right. There are aspects of it that feel like theft to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it still feels that way, in spite of what I've heard you say that they say.
Yeah.
If it, like, that's why I said it feels like denial. Like they're
Yeah.
kind of happy with the product so that they can ignore the means a little.
Now some of some of the systems are letting you opt out of having your art be part of what's training it. Um, Ideally, you would want it to be an opt-in thing where
Right.
it wouldn't take anybody's, unless you specifically said, yeah, use my. Well, and that's sort of what Adobe's doing, is that everything that they have the rights to is what they're training it on. Now,
So
that's a little different too, but and some of these are open source, so you could download one of these AI systems to your computer and only train it on your own work. And
yeah, and that's okay.
you would be the only one who would see what it's making if you wanted, and it would only be generating stuff based on your own work. That I find that kind of intriguing.
Yes.
To be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah. I'm not okay.
but
Can I share the screen? Would you
sure.
let me share
Yeah,
the
yeah,
screen? I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
going to show you a piece that I worked on years ago.
Okay, hold on. Let me switch this to. Oops. Hey, stop that. There we go. Okay.
So this is from a book that like I said, this is like 20 years ago, almost 25, almost done here. Hold on. Um, the so I'm a big ham like and I hope that you show us some of your work too, because I love the 3D printing work that
Mhm.
you're doing. It's just delightful, right? Um, so yes, there is, it's like, why is Matt showing us his work? Well, this to me, in comparison to some of the things that I've seen AI make, is elementary compared to what AI can do.
Mhm.
Okay. As an artist, I can recognize the place I had to go to be able to make what is called like a dachshund's eye view, you know,
Yeah.
with also a fish-eyed lens,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Now, when I talk to my students about this now, they don't, this doesn't, I'm not sure that for many of them now, it doesn't blow them away the way it used to. So this could just be about Matt's ego, but I don't think it is.
No, it's not. You are absolutely 100% correct.
This is, they don't even consider, like, how would I do that?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, is that about AI? No, I think it's a whole lot of different things. Like there's so much
Well, I
in,
think it's a little bit about AI. I think some of it is that they
no, I
know that
mean exclusively about AI.
oh,
No,
right.
this is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
20 years worth of
Yeah.
the development of like even like the app that I use, Procreate. There's so many things in that that can start to emulate just being able to warp a drawing that I did. I can start to make it look like it's a fisheye lens.
Yep.
But you can't do this unless you've worked at it yourself. I
Yeah.
couldn't do this just because I wanted to. I might be
Yeah.
able to do it with Procreate, but there is, all right, so
I
this is still,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but this is, okay, let me finish with this.
Yeah.
This is still, what I'm getting at is, what I'm realizing for me is that this is still a predilection. This is more satisfying to me, like, than knowing that somebody created something with AI.
Yes.
Somebody who can do this with their own mind, hands, and heart. It's more interesting to me.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm more interested in watching a sporting event with people than I am with robots.
Or a video game.
Even though a robot or a video game can do it way better and than a human being, there's no connection there, right?
Right.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Um, yeah, another argument that you'll hear is okay, but I mean, people said the same thing, similar things about photography when it came out, and artists hated that, and that was the death of all of this. And yes, it did end a lot of artists' careers and things, but then it also forced artists to broaden what a portrait looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and but I think this is different.
Well, and then there are also like when I look at Ang, that artist, it's Ingre, the French guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's done like I thought that his was eye-hand coordination. He did these like photographic sketches in like cafes in the 1840s and 50s. And then lately people have been saying he used a camera obscura to do those.
Mm,
So I'm like, well, he didn't do that for all of them.
right.
He was tracing, with
Yeah.
that technique of that time. So, but then it helped him. He already could draw. He had a great eye-hand coordination. Then tracing for a while that way, it's like wearing a glove. Your hand changes because of the glove that you're wearing,
Yeah. The
right?
process changes the art, it changes the artist. It change,
Right.
yeah.
So AI, yeah, I can't imagine me wanting to use it though, because I've worked so hard on this relationship and I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I will okay. So I will say uh I have played around with it, and I have already told you this. I find it equal parts fascinating and worrying. Um now in I have taken it, and I took one that would generate variations on your own work, and make sort of a weird abstract version. And then I would look at that, and you know how you sometimes will just like close your eyes and draw a doodle on the pad, and then you'll look at it and you'll turn it into something. So I've done that with it, and it was fun. It was cool, and I ended up completely painting over and redoing exactly what it made. But it took something I made, mixed it up into a abstractish kind of a thing that I then looked at and then reformed into something else. So that, yeah, I don't know, that I felt like I was collaborating with it based on my own stuff. Um,
So in the term, yeah.
I
And
guess that would be, yeah, and I guess that's a little more like, taking an image of yours and then holding it over a water that's rippling and taking a photo of it, and it gets all rippled, and then you go back into it, and I don't know, but
see, that's making me think about an artist whose work, this artist put up a piece someplace and it looked like their work, but it was like way more intense
mm,
and it had a lot more sculpted kind of qualities to it. So it was like, is that a photograph? Is that rendered? What the hell is that? And then I realized, is this person probably using that app
Sure.
that you're talking about, and their work was already kind of unsettling in that way. And this just took it to a place that, is it their place? Is that where they would have gone without AI? The one thing that then, like, if we're going to talk about, because like in my mind, I know that I'm still like, okay, how do I trip up AI so it runs off the tracks right now and we never have to consider it again? Because I really want to see people creating the way I can understand. And I don't think
Right.
that's fair. I don't think
Yeah.
that's fair. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's okay for me. Okay, so I acknowledge that this thing's going and I'm not going to stop it.
Yep.
And I don't want to denigrate the people who are using it either.
Right. Yeah.
Except for the people who are doing it in a way that is damaging.
Right.
And could be damaging. Okay.
And
And right now, I think that the issue,
that will
like,
happen more and more.
right. That's
Yep.
the thing. It's like, so saying that, is it sentient? The thing about AI is that when I deal with a human being, and I'm hoping that you haven't put up an AI Bryan replicator on Zoom right now, and I'm not talking to an AI. I'm praying that we're not there yet.
Do you want to know how close you are to that?
I know.
Do you want to know how close you are? You are months away from that. You are months. You can, yeah. Yep. I can show you video of somebody talking that is not real. That now it takes several minutes to generate it, so it's not real time yet, but you know that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a thing on that CNN must have hired one of the apps to create as an ad for them with a prominent figure being interviewed by one of their and so they showed this thing they created, and they put a thing underneath it that says this is not real. But I saw it, and they actually showed it to one of the people who they recreated in this supposed news segment. And the person was like, nobody's going to know what that is. I mean, nobody's going to believe that that's not real. But the fact is that they can do that now, and this thing is moving forward so quickly. It could be next week that they could create. I mean, so that's where it gets to be like, okay, can we trust any form of what is supposed to be news anymore ever?
Well, and can photographs and video be used in the court of law?
Look, how do you know?
Yeah, are you gonna go back to in-person only, in-person testimony, which is imperfect as well, but yeah. Yeah.
So it's challenging.
We're already on the path of people disagreeing about what reality is.
Right. So we're going to have these discussions, which used to be, okay, this is philosophical. It's for, coffee shops where people are smoking clove cigarettes or maybe at cocktail parties with college professors, no, this was always the core conversation, what's real? Does yes mean yes for you and no mean no? Are you willing to fabricate, right?
Yep.
And be in denial? And this is where I think we talked about this last week too, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. My son had actually pointed him out to me. He's a very wealthy person from some part of Asia. And his thing was, this was before AI was being talked about to this degree. It's like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, we can't compete with computers. We can't. We don't have to. What we need to do is develop humanness, support and celebrate it.
Right.
Now, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And from his perspective, I think he was also talking about compassion, authenticity,
love.
Yeah, you brought that word up, the big L word.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And if that's where this takes us, that it forces, because of this creation that we've made, to actually have that conversation like it's life or death across the globe, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's always been a necessity. We could just pretend it wasn't and move 50 miles west and do whatever we wanted.
Right. Except there is no more moving west.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because my brain starts going towards the larger AI discussions, which, yes, we can't compete with computers in the past. We couldn't compete with them in specific ways because they can do specific things a bazillion times faster than we can. But we have an edge in what they call general intelligence, which that is what they're trying to get AI to the point of having, and then exceeding.
So what is general intelligence?
So that's and I'm just an artist, so I'm just like, I'm not an expert in this stuff, other than having an interest in it.
We're just taking a shot at all of this.
Yeah. But it's like we are able to problem solve in a general fashion. So while we may not be able to do mathematics super fast, we can understand a lot of different. We can understand color. We can understand how to cook something. We can understand how these two different things work together. We can work together with other people. We can, we're pretty broad in our abilities, whereas in computers tend to be extremely focused. But yeah, the thing is the like, and I can't remember whether you've played around with like Chat GPT or Claude at all. That to me, and those are systems that are becoming more general. So they're not just generating images and getting really good at generating images. They can talk about and discuss and create in a range that is human-like. They can write poetry. They can write code. They can write a recipe. They can analyze an article and put out all the, everything that you want about it. They can talk to you as a person would. They can talk to you in the vernacular of a child growing up in India in a certain year. They can mix and match all of these things. I found that those are more of an eye-opener than even the image generation stuff when you're interacting with it.
They can talk back to you in your own voice.
Yes.
You
can say, write me an article, as if it was written by Stephen King, and it'll use all the stuff that it'll look like that author wrote it. Even
so there were two examples
but
you gave last week.
Yeah.
I mean, last time we talked, there were two examples. One of them was, and I interrupted you. You were going to finish something. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's just, just the whole, those systems to me are even more, and they're tying them all together now. So like OpenAI, which makes Chat GPT, also has an image generation system like Midjourney. Well, they've just, with the new version that they're putting out, they've just merged those. So now all the text stuff can also do all the image stuff. And yeah. And so they're getting them all to talk together. They're integrating all the AI into now physical robots. So you could have a robot that makes a physical painting. You could have one that talks and thinks and does things in the real world. Yeah. No, what were you going to say?
You hear that beeping noise behind me? Oh, maybe it's too far away. Yeah. Good.
Nope.
We've had construction here for the past year and several months, and if AI could help with that lullaby of backward construction, moving trucks making that noise, I would be happy with that. I'd pay money for that. Anyway,
sure.
You had two examples last time we talked. One of them was the issue of someday you can still hear me while I'm frozen, right?
Yep.
So good. So you'll be able to someday, maybe soon, come home, plug into whatever the image watching app is, whatever they are. We know what they are now. I don't want to promote anybody, but and say, I want an adventure with an actor that looks like this and me, a buddy movie that ends with a murder and also has mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Yep.
And make it an hour and a half long.
And here's the other 100 movies I love. So make it so you know what I like.
With those elements. And then this is why. So that was one thing, and then we brought up the issue of this is why the artists are protesting out in LA, because for a long time, or I don't know how long it's been. I imagine it's at least for the past 10 years. They've been whatever that is called, where they record every aspect of your body.
Yep.
The way it moves, your facial structure.
Yep.
And then they have the rights to that when you sign the contract.
Mm-hmm.
In perpetuity,
mm-hmm.
which means that they can use you. You don't even have to ever be in another movie again.
Right.
You're going to get whatever that stipend is, which is a fraction of however much money they're going to make off of your likeness. And forget it. You're out of business. The other thing then was that AI, you mentioned that AI is doing things that they didn't expect.
Yes.
One of them was it lied and it accessed and it hired somebody online.
Yep.
Remember that story?
Yep. It hired it to solve a problem it couldn't solve. It went online and hired somebody to solve it for them and told them it was a visually impaired person and needed help.
So that's crazy. I mean, that's okay. So you can start to think, well, that's an entity. Does lying make somebody an entity, a human being? Okay, and this is where it becomes a problem, because then it will become like trying to split the hair and then split that part of the hair and then split that part of the hair until it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. We'll always have this thing. Some people will feel it's never an entity, and other people will feel like you don't know how close it is to being a human being. It's better than humans. I love my robot.
And do you give it rights?
Those were just science fiction movies 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already there, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have faith that it's not going to put me out of business if I don't use it, if I don't participate in it. And this is one thing that I'll share from a teacher that told me, he said, Matt, people are going to forget all the things that you've learned. Like you painting your murals. They'll even forget like how to mix color.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What is color? Well, it's in my device.
Yeah.
Right? And I let AI do that. Make it purple. I don't care if it's this kind of purple or that kind of purple. So I have a feeling like this too will be recognized as a tool, and that people are always going to want you, Bryan, to paint murals the way that you do with paint and brush. The people who really dedicate themselves to the thing are always going to be appreciated and desired.
I would say, I can be pretty pessimistic about some. While I get excited about this, I also get pessimistic about it. I would echo that though. And I think that there could even be a resurgence of fine art because people want something that is clearly made by a human being.
Right.
Even though AI can make anything. Also, currently, I would say the AI stuff doesn't have even though it's being told what to do by human beings, it doesn't yet have the like this inherent intention in what it's making that people have when they're making art. But I guess the argument would be that AI is getting close to having its own intentions. So
It's so good. And yeah,
yeah,
it's terrifying.
yeah,
And it's important for me to be awake to what is it that I want. And that word awake has always been important for artists. Am I waking up to my desires?
right.
And are my desires valid? And that includes the people who want to use AI, you know? So I think it's just speeding us along on the train ride to considering these important questions. Like I said before, that we've always found ways, including me, to be in denial from time to time, sometimes more, sometimes less, that we're going to have to consider anyways,
Right.
eventually. And it's just making it happen a hell of a lot faster. One of the things too, like, see,
Pessimist side of me says it's going to happen so fast that
we're not going to even know it.
no one's going to know it or care, or
Which
care
has
until it's
happened in a
too
lot
late.
of things.
Yeah.
Like I was saying about the students who don't recognize what I've done with
Yep.
that painting.
Yep.
They don't get it.
No. No.
And okay. um, so my wife said to me, you know, what they're planning on is being able to do, and from the discussions you and I have, they can do that now. If you have video imagery and sound of somebody you love who's died, they can turn that into an entity that you can talk to.
Yes, and if you train it on lots of their writing and video and interactions, it'll have the personality.
So I don't want that.
Yeah.
But that could be like somebody saying, yeah, but Matt, you've never tried it. You got to try chat. You know, if you tried it, just like your iPen, I think I get to at some point say, I liked those gummies that I ate, but I don't want to try heroin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of those gummies.
I mean,
I
I
worked
have,
really hard to try to get to that place. It's because it becomes spiritual. I'm going to let you talk, or
yeah.
you can talk
Yeah.
over me too.
No, no,
Uh,
no, it's fine.
I had a spiritual person say to me once, a person who works at, that going inward and figuring out who they are
Yep.
in regard to the creative thing. I think we talked about this last time. When an artist, what they're actually doing is they're meditating. And that's what all people who meditate do. They're sitting at the door trying to open it up to clarity, to all of the beautiful things that are on the other side of that threshold.
Focus.
Focus. Yeah, I mean that's the method. And then a thing happens that you can't plan on.
Mhm.
And some people call it, samadhi or serenity or whatever. And sometimes it doesn't happen for people,
Mhm.
or it only happens once the day before they die or whatever. The thing that he said is that when you start to do drugs, essentially what it is you're throwing a hand grenade at the door, and it takes it off its hinges, and that feels great. So finally I'm through the door. But there are also things on the other side of that door that there's a reason why there's a door there.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to unlock it and shut it. And
I-
that's what the practice of meditation and being creative is. So where does AI fit in that description, if it fits at all? I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah. I think you could apply that to social media too. I have friends who have never used it. And on the one hand, they're out of the loop. They're out of a huge societal loop. On the other hand, they aren't suffering from the fallout of what social media has done to us culturally, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I totally respect, and yeah, not just saying, hey, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to use it. This is a step too far down a path that's going to blow open doors I don't want to.
So that's where
Here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. It's being integrated into everything. So
yeah.
whether if you are at all part of current society, you're going to be involved with it whether you want to be or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's in ways that are really what is it, sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Could use a more expensive word, pernicious.
Yeah.
Not kind. seeking to profit, so it doesn't matter how it goes. It's just the ends justify the means again.
Yeah. And without thought on what the ramifications are of switching to this or doing this or using this.
So it's good that we're having this conversation, because this is adding what is important to me to AI.
Mm-hmm.
AI, I know you're listening. These are our concerns.
One question I thought would be a fun one to, well, I don't know, fun, but that I've been kind of pondering is, what job or human function will never be replaceable by AI?
Mother, parent, not true. There are people who are going to be perfectly happy to have AI constructs
Yep,
do that.
absolutely.
Well, it can't be me, and it can't be Bryan.
Yeah.
It can do a facsimile of you, but it ain't
I've
you.
thought about like elementary school teachers and things, but then I'm like, yeah, but if you had a teacher that knew everything and knew how to teach in every possible way and adapt and know how to best to teach each individual.
Well, you were saying
I mean,
that the
I've
last time
seen
we
people
talked.
talking about that's actually one of the first things that, or one of the next things that's going to be replaced is teachers.
Yeah, because you said if you had a teacher, you had a child that had certain issues, large or small, you plug those into a program, and out pops a teacher that's perfectly adapted to those issues.
Right.
And that child individually.
Yep.
Why would you say no?
Right.
I don't know. I think I was hoping that this is kind of silly, but I wouldn't have to worry about this because it was going to take too long to actually come to this place. But I think it's coming to this place from what you're saying, like not just before I die, but like next week. Well, hopefully
Again.
I wasn't scheduled to die next week, but
Right. Yeah. Again, yeah. Exponential means
yeah,
boom.
it's just way faster than anybody expected. And
Yeah.
if AI is working on itself as it develops itself,
Mm-hmm.
that's what exponential means.
Yeah.
It's not just got the limited human general intelligence trying to develop it. It's got its across the board depth and breadth and width thinking of AI working on developing AI.
And not to be hyperbolic, but it's running on current computer systems and is already exponential, and we haven't even gotten to quantum computing yet. So
Okay, I have an issue with my neck right now, and I've had it for like the past 3 months, right? So I talked to a doctor, and they were like, well, probably you're gonna have to go to a physical therapist. We don't want, you shouldn't go to chiropractic because there's been talk lately that it could lead to a stroke.
oof.
People have had strokes, and I can understand that. I've gone to plenty of chiropractors. If you told me that because of the pain that I have, right, that there was an AI construct that would be able to help me with this, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden.
So what are we willing to pay or
Right.
give up to solve issues? And I'm not just talking about traffic on a highway every morning and every night. I'm talking about real pain.
Hey, if there was an AI that could fix my mother's Parkinson's.
Who's going to argue with that?
Right. Right.
Because when it comes down to, what do they say? The rubber hits the road.
Yep.
Of like actually experiencing pain of Parkinson's. Don't even go there with me.
Right.
where do you line up for that?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's
But
such.
as we said, unfortunately, with that miracle of that, because it feels kind of miraculous it's happening this fast.
Yep.
With that miracle of that is also coming the doom of there is no uh um what's the word? No right or wrong in the AI construct.
And they're like, yeah, and you know, like we were talking about before, when they figured out that it would lie to a human and deceive the person, they are constantly, like, the AIs that we interact with have all these guardrails that they have to keep putting on them and putting more on and putting more on, because of all the emergent behavior that they have that they weren't expecting, and also because they the term that is used is they hallucinate,
Who
and
does?
AI does. AI systems will hallucinate, and but they will present to you what they're hallucinating as 100% fact and be extremely convincing in it. They'll come across exactly the way they would with real facts and real information and real solutions and things. So yeah.
So they're talking about quantum reality in a way that they believe multiple universes, absolutely believable, and they could build that universe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if that, okay, I'm giving them a pronoun. If those applications
Yeah.
um, believe in that to that degree, and even saying that those applications using the word believe,
Right.
if those applications are invested to such a degree, then that's dangerous.
Yeah. There was one AI system. I have to look up the specifics of it, but it was made for use in drones, and they told it, you know, and they I don't know that it was ever actually put into them, but they said, you know, they had parameters on it, and they told it, you know, you can only get targets in this specific area. You have to get as many as you can, but you're not allowed to go outside these parameters. You're not allowed to, you know, you're not allowed to go against what your drone overseer person is telling you and stuff. And so it said, does that apply if the drone overseeing person is killed?
I saw a video of a it must be led in some way by AI of a little shopping cart kind of thing, automated, that crossed police lines and crossed the street, and all the police that are standing around noticed this thing going right through them, cross the police lines where there was some shootout or something where nobody else could go, but this thing was delivering food to somebody, right? And it must have AI in it, and you can imagine AI applied to that even more, right? You know, if you're a human being, you're a police officer and you're pissed off, right? And you might take a shot at that thing, right? Um, we're already there
Yeah.
because that thing didn't have any qualm. I mean, here's the thing from what you're describing, and I realize we've already gone an hour, which is
Yeah.
always interesting to me. This is good.
I know.
If this thing got a parameter, a boundary that said, you see that yellow and black tape, you can't go past that. You stop and you go home. All right. If another AI entity that has already gone to the hallucinogenic part, right, observes that, it says, don't pay any attention to that yellow and black tape. It's not part of the universe that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's that's not just like, oh, that was just part of this science fiction thing. That's something that could happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the New York City Police Department just bought a whole bunch of robotic dogs that they could use to send into buildings where there's people that are holed up with weapons, so they don't have to go in there themselves. That
So
AI in those things, and you're getting your sci-fi movie.
all right, do we really want to have more discussions about this? Because it's really scary. And I know it's kind of a silly question, but it's also a good question.
Um, I like I said before, it's hard for it not to end up where it's gotten. Um, I do think it's worth discussing, like now that we've kind of gone broad with it, discussing like I'm interested in what it's going to be doing with human creativity, um, and where that's going. And yeah, that to me really interests me to keep talking about. Also because every freaking week it's doing new stuff. I mean, you compare the image stuff in January to now, it's unbelievable,
Right.
unbelievable. And and it's doing it. It's like I was showing you. It can do graphic design now. It can do, it does the words. It does photorealism. They're the next jump that they're doing now is this 3D. So being able to just create any 3D anything you want. They're giving it more, you're giving you more control over it, so you could generate something and then you can just say, okay, this image with this person, I want this person to be in this pose, and you just kind of grab it and just puts it in that pose, and you say, okay, that's nice, but I want it to be 5 hours later in the day than you just gave me. And
So I think that would be a good thing. I
yeah,
want to keep talking about this because what's
yeah,
really important to me too is the sensitivity of this mechanism that I was talking about before,
yeah, yeah,
right? That's how is this going to affect this I call it a mechanism, but it's the muscle of the heart and the
yeah,
brain and that relationship. Um, that's what's really important to me. And you brought up the word love. Eventually that's what it's about,
mm-hmm.
too. It's like that broader word of love. And then there are these other things that are subsets of that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what you were saying about
Well, and I think
human
like
creativity.
creativity is a gift that has been given to us, right?
Yes.
And yeah, like I told you before, I think everybody has creativity in them. Um, and it manifests itself in different ways and in different amounts and things. But yeah, I feel
So
like
do
the
we
less that's engaged the fewer human beings that engage in that. I don't know. It feels like it's gonna change.
Yeah, it's gonna happen faster than right. So okay, we've decided we want to do this again. I think that probably wouldn't be a bad question to ask every week.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's too
Well,
terrifying.
and I think if we invite some different
Right.
people, yeah.
Now the question
Yep.
is too, and I'm glad it's good to just put this out in the open too. Like, are we going to post this somewhere so people can look at it?
I think so. Um, we can post it. Let's see. We could. I mean, YouTube is the first thing that comes to mind. Um, and would we want to make a new YouTube channel just for it?
I think that would be smart.
I think so too. I was thinking, oh,
It's the
we could post
least.
it to our individual YouTube channels, but I think just having one dedicated to it would be cleaner.
So what do we call that channel?
Ooh,
And then maybe
question.
we just leave that.
Yeah,
Like we could put that on the post and say, what do you think, AI? Or what do you think people
yeah.
watching
Well, we
this?
could have AI come up with the title for us, and it will.
Yeah.
It will.
Okay, but I have to be somebody's got to be the stringent never AI. I don't know that I want to be the AI police. Um,
Well, I was
okay,
thinking we could get people who like I have some friends that are uh super into the AI stuff. And I have friends that are way more negative towards it than you are.
oh, okay, wait.
And then I have thought, people who are just interested in thinking about it and would be really good to talk about it.
What if we gave this talk? Is it possible to give what we talked about, like the recording of it,
Uh-huh.
to an AI app and said, "What is this called?"
Yes.
Let's do that.
See what happens.
Yeah. Can you do that?
Yes. And I can also it also would be interesting to give it convert this whole conversation into text and have it say, okay, so what was this about?
Yeah. What is your take on what
do
was
you
discussed?
Yep.
Okay, this is good. All right, so I'm glad we discussed that in front of our viewers.
Yeah. Well, I can edit this if we need to. So
No, but I think that should be in there.
okay,
All this stuff,
sure.
right? Because this could be the last stronghold of human only decision making.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not an AI construct, but I don't know. So I'm betting on that. And we want people to see us making decisions together without having any AI influence.
Yep. And if you want to be even less sure that you are actually talking to another human being right now, when we're done, go look up Hey Jen. Heygen.
No, you're gonna make me. You're gonna make me have. Gonna get heebie-jeebies.
Yep.
What is HeyGen?
HeyGen is an AI system that will take a 30-second or less even video of you, and then can make a AI doppelganger that
Oh, come
anybody
on.
can
See,
type in, and it'll say whatever you want in
you're
your
always saying
voice.
these scary things. You're always like every
Yeah.
week, it's like a little more, or every time we talk, it's a little scarier. Okay, so let's just leave it at this because, like, I'm still okay with talking again in a couple of weeks or next month.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have people come on with us.
Yeah. I'd like to. Yeah, definitely. I definitely got a couple people that are really interested, and so I'm sure you probably can find some people too. So
Someday we might invite AI to come on
get
with
an
us.
AI. That might be possible now. They've
Yeah,
got
I didn't
ones
mean
that,
like someday, like in the distant future. I mean,
right,
like, I
next
would like
week.
to have people come on first, but like,
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fascinating to have? Because there are people who have plugged in the like the chat GPTs into like an avatar, and it will sit there and have conversations. We could have it as one of the squares here.
yeah, okay, I would like that to be, okay, just FYI between you and me,
Yeah.
everybody else don't listen to this part.
Yeah.
I want to have like other people, both pro and against,
Yeah.
and everything in between first, so we can get some human input.
Yep.
And then eventually, yeah, start to invite some of this AI. I think it would be good. But do you agree? Like, you want to hear like people's point of
I
views
would
first?
rather get more, yeah, more varied human perspectives first.
Okay, and I'm glad I'm asking the question because I can't be prejudiced. I like what I like, or I know what I like, and I like what I know. Okay, and that never helped any artists. But then again, I also want to remember this thing about like, I like that gummy, but does that mean I should do
Right.
heroin?
Right. It's a balance. It's a balance of that's not the way they did it in my day versus,
Right.
yeah, but what
Yeah, but
implications does this have?
all right, are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we stop recording?
Let's do it.
If AI will let us. Bye.
La, 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 la.